different than maybe what you're used to with fiction, or we're gonna be in fiction we would be talking more about, how would you change the plot, change the structure. Plot and structure are still important here, but generally it can be more around themes and thematics and kind of how everything feeds into that theme. So we, without further ado, the exam table paper crinkled beneath the electric lights buzzed overhead. So this is great. Really, really tactile entrance into a scene. Um, so right, yes, and we're using those senses. We actually had a contest on that. So good use of tactile sensory description to root us into a scene early. The doctor clicked on the ultrasound screen and began to search for a heartbeat. My own heart hammered as the walls of my wound came in and out of focus. The doctor frowned. Silence. He clicked off the machine. I almost wonder if just the doctor frowned, because that, like, I don't know. I think this is good. I like one-word sentences. I like the doctor frown though because it gives some suspense. Um, just by itself, yeah. I don't know. The theme of silence. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, you want the silence theme in here. One potential revision would be to cut it from this, and then sound reported my for the as we watched the screen holding our breath. You know. And if it's a we, I don't know if you know, maybe we can establish that your husband's there, like, and I see you do it the next run. This is obviously a kind of a silly example, but this would be an approach you would take if you wanted to add more suspense in. Like, we still kind of have that silence theme coming in later, but maybe, yeah, and it depends on your technique. If you want to really, really lock in that kind of silence as a theme early, I think the way you have it is really good. This kind of, this is just an example. Like, obviously the wording is not what you want, but I do wonder if using that Dr. Frown as an anchor can make those next sentences where you're setting the scene, talking about all those things, have more suspense. Because Dr. Frown, everyone's like, okay, what's going on? And then your husband grabs your hand, and those types of things can build up for that moment where we see that the reason all this tension is happening is because of the silence, and that can build that moment up. Because that silence here might refer to the doctor not speaking, those types of things. So just some food for thought, though. I think the way you have it's fine. It's more of a stylistic choice. He clicked off the machine, his eyes crinkling. Sorry not to have better news. I looked at my husband. Yeah. But his eyes is questioning, how did I feel? Air seeped out of my chest. I'd been preparing for this since the first ultrasound 1 week ago. But known then. Oops. Obviously, if you did something where you established your husband earlier, then you probably would, um, maybe build on that. Like, you know, I mean, I almost wonder if you want to just like establish him with a name. Like, you could even make a name up, but maybe not. But like, my husband, maybe like, whatever. I'll just leave it my husband for now. But I don't know why we wouldn't want to just name not just establish name and then use it, you know. Yeah, and then you could kind of frame it like that, you know. And then you could just use it because names just give a little bit more of a personal feel. Whenever it's like my husband, my friend, my blah, my blah, it does pull the narrator back, right? Because we refer to people by name, like, oh, this is the Foxy Lady or whatever, and that's all we call you is just the Foxy Lady. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, but then that makes it feel more personal, intimate. But if you do want to have it more pull back, you can leave it like generalized, like my husband, stuff like that. My husband tightened his grip on my.
I don't know, sometimes I like it more like simplified without all this
Yeah.
like descriptive like narration of what happens.
Yeah. Here, let me just make sure your audio is picking up.
Oh yeah. Can you hear me?
Properties. Webcam. That's really loud. Yeah, so this should get you now.
No, I was just saying that I almost like it better without all the descriptive narration of what's happening. Like, I grabbed his hand, squeezing his palms, he just tightened his, not that she would have to do that anyways, but
No, yeah.
just the simple, like, I looked at my husband, the doctor frowned, silence, because it seems to like draw in more silence. Like, those sentences end with, they're like short and not very descriptive of things going on in the scene, but then they like cause you to pause more and have and experience silence. Personally, like the doctor frowned, pause, silence, pause. You looked off the machine. Sorry not to have better news. Like, you end up with more silence in your own mind while reading it, instead of like, I grabbed my husband's hand, squeezing his palms, which are like good descriptors, but I feel like counteract that silence.
Yeah, I mean,
That's me.
I'm very guilty of overwriting a lot of the time, so it's another great point. And hopefully this just gives you more stylistic options. Like, you can maybe lean into what Danielle's saying, just like trim it down even more sparingly, so that it really just is this like kind of mechanical, bare bones approach to the scene, which is probably actually more effective. So yeah. Undo. I'm just kidding. It's just options. Options. Neither of us spoke, but his eyes asked the question, how did I feel? Air seeped out of my chest. So in that case, you would almost... Well, I don't know. Would known then one would only... Oh, we could held out hope. So all we could held out hope. At night we sing songs, little bird, and picture it growing. I wonder if like we pictured is a little hard. I wonder if this could be more tactile, like Thanks for the sub behind us. Welcome. What up?
Howdy.
What up, dude? How's it going? Thanks for the sub. Much obliged. And yes, the Foxy Lady returns. I try to rope her into edits because she has such great insights. Which she did. I think that you were actually probably more right than me on that last one. So yeah. I press warm hands into my belly.
singing, to our, so forth. Beep. Okay. So watch our toddler stop dancing on the living room table. We mentioned 2 dancers, 2 sets of stomping feet. So this is really,
Fragment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you would want to be. It's okay to use fragments, but sometimes this one is a little bit distracting. At night we sang songs for little baby pictures still going. Watching. I think it just would be an infinitive at least. Son of the living table. Comma. We imagined 2 dancers. I think you're absolutely right. That should. Sometimes it's okay to have fragments, but you're not at least from what I can tell in this draft, pushing really hard on the kind of grammar and sound and those types of things. So 2 sets of stuff. Maybe I wasn't as far along as I thought. Maybe we would return to the doctor's office in a week and here. I don't think you need that.
My only thought here is it's a little confusing. Maybe just remind us that you're talking about the first doctor's visit, because it's written as if at this, in the current scene that we were just in, you're hoping maybe I wasn't as far along as I thought. Maybe we return. Yeah. Maybe just remind us.
Clarify the timeline here.
Yeah, at least re-clarify it before you, because it kind of seems like you're remembering what you did, but then it feels like you're returning to your present, or the present thoughts that you had the second time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, flashbacks are always difficult, and one of the things that can always help is just reading how people are executing. Flashbacks are one of the things, as a fiction writer, I'll almost discourage a lot of other writers to have flashbacks. I'll say, just don't, as nonfiction, you need them, right? Because you have to adjust the timeline in order that your story has dramatic, or your nonfiction has dramatic tension, because not all the moments of tension happen in order in life, right? So, that's why you're leading with this hook, even though it's a very kind of sad subject matter, you're still trying to engage the reader. So you're leading with kind of this more intense emotional beat. You're backtracking, because obviously starting with, you could potentially start with everything in order, right? Starting with, this week we held out hope, and then you're like, okay, hope in what? But again, this does, it produces a different effect than it would be, and that's kind of one of the tools you have to use more. So I just read some other essays, see how they're jumping in a flashback, and sometimes that can help. Now silence. Again, I like this. I like short sentences and short paragraphs. All week we played. So again, this feels a lot like a repeat of this last one. All week we held out hope. All week we prayed. That's almost the exact same topic sentence, essentially, which is framing that paragraph and kind of setting us up for what's going on. Whether or not, I wonder if this can be, because I like that you're using questions here. I wonder if this could be more set up as a statement. Instead of maybe I wasn't as far along as I thought, God could still intervene. He could. He could, in our next doctor's office visit in a week, he could let us hear, that's something though. So again, this does feel, this feels like a repeat of the last, skip last paragraph. Potentially combine. Again, one of the challenges is right here. Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna add to that and just say that that you could just throw the like main points of that second paragraph into the first paragraph and like still do it as like like a statement. Yeah.
The clickety clacks are soothing. Yeah, I'll turn my big microphone on. It's easier when I have two people. I have to do the big microphone, but be careful what you wish for. We can do the clickety clacks, and this could be an ASMR stream.
Yeah. I guess that's basically what you said, but I think you could just pop it up into that first paragraph.
But that's really right. And to piggyback on what Danielle is saying, one thing to think about too would be if you consolidate some of this like hopeful beat, because you can think of it as like these plot beats, right? So this is like this hope in the future, and then you're back to the present here, now silence. So this is bringing us back to the present. And then this you might, and then we're back to the past. So rather than doing that, this processing is happening in the present, right? Like what's happening here is back in the present moment of the scene. So then what your goal might be is to maybe anchor us again, like as we walked into the parking lot, this is what I'm processing. So I walked out of the parking lot, this hopeful moment, or this week of hope has ended in, unfortunately, something that was not a conclusion that upheld that hope. And then I would re-anchor us in the present.
I agree. Like have all this stuff up here and then have the now silence and then have like the silence continuing while you're processing in your head.
Yeah. And just like, writers do in fiction, whenever you're going into interior, you always want to be bumping against the scene. Like it's sort of like doing moguls. That's a ski, term. I don't know if people ski very much, but you always want to like, you hit the center of the mogul, you come up, and then you go back down. And so you're kind of that center moment, or like that pendulum moment, is you want to hit the scene, anchor us back in the present when these thoughts are happening, and then you kind of echo out into thought. And then that's how we experience life, which is why it feels very organic. Like
and it looks like you were still, you kind of anchor us down lower when you say the doctor's minor options. So I would just do that earlier.
Yeah.
So we know that's what that's kind of your thought process.
The later anchor and earlier. What's the logline of this nonfiction? So this is called Miscarriage and Motherhood, Finding God in Silence and Noise. So it's the speaker of the story is kind of talking through kind of processing a miscarriage. And obviously it's challenging subject matter, but obviously as writers we still want to be diving into this with as much, and no matter what we even believe about these things, we want to just say, okay, how do we help the writer accomplish their goals and make sure that this story can communicate those emotions and feelings to someone else? I think that's like it's very, very critical, especially in times where people are not always looking at things from other people's point of views. Like the more point of views that can get really articulately represented and developed, the better. When between moans, I wondered how much longer. The first year of motherhood was, maybe we're going to make it out okay, or Peter and God, I will be done back at work. Okay, so we're really, could you repeat the question from the fear of being humiliated? I had to ask. My fuzzy toddler when eaten splat on the glove of avocado landed on the floor and I just cleaned. Lord grant me patience. So this particular contextual, so this interiority, I don't know if it fully matches the direction, right? So this is a really valuable section. I like this processing, but right now we're processing hope and the absence of hope, and this is kind of going back to hardship, right? Like, because that's what this is, more of a hardship paragraph. Or after 14 years of labor, during hardship, I tried to repeat this mantra of "Thy will be done," and so I wonder if this maybe comes later when we're processing this emotional, because like this is physical hardship, right? Where you're saying, I'm exhausted, I have the newborn, I'm in lots of pain, and there is that uncertainty. I wonder if this hardship beat needs to come a little bit later or get revised a little bit, because we're still in this like hope. Okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it sounds like you're kind of going off on this, on how you felt that motherhood was your calling from God, and you're kind of going into that. And maybe that can come in at a different place, but I don't know where yet. Because I agree, I guess it could work there.
I think it's
With
like
just some clarity, clarifying.
Yeah. This could potentially be clarified to work here too. And I think that's like
Feels like another kind of tangent, which is fine.
Yeah. My thought is, I agree. I think Danielle has a good point where it's like, okay, if you frame it better, it will be more ingrained and like tell me how does this thought like coalesce a little more sharply if you really want this section there. So yeah, I think you have a lot of options, which is nice as someone who's revising. Could you read the depression from fear of being humiliated? Deliver me Jesus when fussy toddler wouldn't eat. How's life, by the way, Bindus? It's always good to see you. I know we've been we're like counting down to Grubhub arriving with lots of delicious hamburgers. So, but it's good to see you. I hope your writing is going well, and I probably need to do some edits on the stuff that I think you submitted something, and there's some other stuff in the queue that I need to cycle up on. I've been pretty busy lately. Over time, things got easier. Okay, so my fussy toddler wouldn't eat, splat another glove while we got it. Over time, things got easier. I started sleeping through the night. Learned to move through the house, picking up toys to the floor with one hand and a baby on my hip, dumping a little laundry in the machine, grabbing dirty towels from the other, started laughing at my mistakes at work instead of fighting the urge to cry. You're ready for another baby. Interesting. So, like, this moment, this is interesting.
Yeah, it's like a tangent.
I wonder if I would try writing this story linearly, right? Because this is, this is like the backstory. Because what's happening is you're in the present moment, you jump to the backstory, you jump back to the present moment, you jump to the backstory before the backstory where you're overcoming kind of your last hardship and you're ready for a new challenge. This all fits together, but it fits together, I think, there's a lot of different thoughts here, and whenever you're running into that, a timeline is a great way to just add that anchor and saying, this is how it's going. This has happened first, second, third, fourth is the easiest progression, right? When you mix things up, it can be really effective, and I think it is pretty effective here, but you need a lot more anchors and signposts, and it has to have some progression, which is like a very crystalline frame of thought that's just like the through line has to hang on something other than timeline. So that might be something to test in a revision. If you're really saying, hey, I really want to process and make this draft really, really sing, that might be a direction to look at, I wonder. This is a flashback 2x. Would this be more effective if we, did everything in one timeline? Or consider, adding some more signposts or reorganizing. Cool. Doctor explained our options in a soft voice and how to launch, because then we're back to the present. Yeah, I like that you have your 3 dots here. This would be another option, is to use the page breaks more avidly, right? And like page break, just to let us know that, hey, we're jumping around a lot. That's okay. That can help too. Help these. Doctor explained options, soft voice, no longer I was ready to cradle a newborn, holding my fidgety toddler. So again, this feels like this feels like a mirror of this, right? Because like this is like this sense of being ready, and yeah, this feel like I see you're trying to do this back and forth, like I'm ready for another baby, I'm prepared, but this this kind of, it hasn't happened in the way that would hoped. So I see that tug of war that's going on here. It still feels like it's not, because there's those other elements in the previous section, right? So that's like what's it's not two things diametrically opposed that are like, I'm ready, but it's not resolving into something that readiness is hoping for. Because there's like another thing that's tacked onto it, it's kind of pulling it out of whack a little bit.
Oh, disjointed.
Yeah. This back and forth and ready, and the unrealized hope feels so many other themes coming in. Yeah. One thing that helps me as a writer is like consider just writing this in the most lean down, like just one kind of commanding idea of this silence and noise, and then just the processing of the one moment of hope and this missing piece of hope, and then saying like, hey, we had this hope and it didn't work out, and maybe just process that single thing. And then if you say, hey, you know what, I think I can bring some more ideas in and it will hold up, that's totally fine. But kind of just go down to the scaffolding on this single idea and then tack things on, and that might help kind of bring that level of focus in revision.
Agreed.
It's been pretty good. My writing is slow as I'm taking 6 classes and 2 labs this semester, including pre-chem.
Physical chemistry.
Yeah. Fox is the chemistry brain. I
didn't take PChem.
I'm just the trophy husband writer.
PChem's like the opposite of OChem.
Oh yeah. Fox seems to really like it. She's making a sour face. That sounds intense. Well, you're yeah, it sounds like you have both I'm an OChem nerd. Yeah.
OChem's a little better.
Yeah, OChem seems a lot more
OChem's
fun.
hard, but it's at least interesting and like, I don't know.
Yeah, she's the brains.
Yeah.
I just know statistics.
Yeah, that's all you need.
That's all you need. Yeah, I wish. Yes, it would have been exhausting, but it was going to be worth it. I'd come out on the other side stronger and more resilient. So again, yeah, this is processing the readiness and not necessarily the loss. And I don't think the loss is a factor of, well, I was really prepared. I think there's some other, and potentially it was, but from what you set up earlier in the story, like there seems to be kind of this separate grief of this failed hope that you might be trying to articulate. So I don't know, like this still, preparedness doesn't feel from what's been set up to be the source of grief. Not, I was really ready, but it didn't work out. Maybe more, and I think you're going for I feel like God was preparing me for this. I was ready to fulfill my calling. Maybe, but I think that still is a subheading to this hope of a new life and hope that, God was going to come through, right? Maybe it's, this idea of, God is getting me ready, so of course he'll come through in this, situation. But that's still subheading to the general hope of. And I think that's the thing to think about. I think these ideas can probably be trimmed, right? This could potentially be in a list, as you're saying, would hoped, would prayed, would thought, God's been preparing me. I just overcome all these challenges with a toddler. And he needed to come through here. Of course he was going to come through here, and it didn't happen. So this to me, this has been developed into 3 or 4 paragraphs, but I have a feeling this could be 1 or 2 sentences in a list, right? And I think that's, in nonfiction, lists are one of your most diehard tools where you can build, a building list where, there this hope that you had and saying, of course, of course God would come through here. He's setting me up. He's preparing me. I'm ready. All these things are coming into kind of focus. Why now and why this? I think that's...
I agree.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'll shut up. Daniel's yes, Jeff, move Okay, we get to mess around with hexagons. Pchem deals with nasty second derivatives. Yeah, seems bad.
OChem's like
I do like hexagons. I made a hexagon puzzle game. Doesn't that count?
OChem is like it's like a puzzle. It's like drawing pictures and then changing them into different shapes, but like with science.
Would you call it Hex Puzzle Blitz?
Somewhat.
Cool, sweet. Chess, puzzle, OChem hexes. I should do like a chemical. I bet that would be like a great
arrow pushing, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah, the doctor asked if I had any questions. I shook my head. My husband and I exited the building without speaking. In the car, I put my face in his hands. I like this again. I wonder if, like, should we do like in silence? I wonder if it's a short essay. I think word repetition can really play to your advantage in terms of your goal. Maybe repeating the word can add effect. In the car, I put my face in my hands, I guess, at the last of the hopes I'd held inside. My husband took my hand, squeezed it. My hand, my heart squeezed. I like this. This is a good fragment.
Yeah.
Good emotional moment. Yeah, I know I'm a fiction writer, so I'm very, very much scene driven. So like I think this is a good execution for non-scene, like having more, and this is something for fiction writers I think to remember too, is like when the narrator is coming in more and giving the emotion is more than the scene. I always like unique ways of showing grief, like leaning on stuff, and like I think about the times where I felt like very, very extreme grief, like I'm usually like bent over, leaning, like these types of things. So maybe that's something to think about too, because I think like taking the hand and squeezing, maybe that can be used earlier, because that's like a really great thing for an exam chair. Though I think you probably should take Fox's recommendation in that previous one, what we were talking about. But anyways, food for thought. Is there some other visual representation that can help? That's more stylistic. I think what you have is fine. That's just me being fiction writer default way of thinking about things. Love the puzzle of OChem, the synthesis questions. Pchem, we got to deal with deriving Schrödinger's equation with far too much math.
Gross.
Ugh.
Nobody had time for that.
Yeah, I mean, Kendall's...
Schrödinger did it. I trust him.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like... everyone says it's right. My mom greeted... I trust Schrödinger. My mom greeted us at the door with my son in her arms. I reached for him and held him tight to my chest. I listened to the sound of his heart, thump, 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 side by side. In my chest, I carried my children, a crush of love and a hollow.
That's
really great. Yeah, really great.
I get choked up just reading it.
That's great. So this is really... So I think... there's so much other, so like this is the core emotion, right? Like this is where a single phrase that's dealing with the core emotion is like making both of us like feel emotion. So I think so much of the thought before needs to stay very close to this center. This is like, I think very much the center point. It has the sound coming in, it has these two children, like the one that's there and the one that's not. So I think this is really, really the core of your piece. And I think like almost like that snowflake method that they do in novels, where like this is like the single line that defines your novel. What are the things that are going to anchor around it? That's another way of conceptualizing another revision, where you say, this is the anchor. How am I going to build up to this moment? How am I going to make this moment pay off again more and more? So maybe that's a helpful way of contextualizing. Because like to me as the reading, like this stuff up here about this buildup, like this is a subheading of a subheading, right? Besides the fact that it does establish that you have a toddler already, I think that you kind of need to establish that for this moment to hit. But I think you can do that in a couple of sentences, and then it can feel like a much more linear progression towards this moment. It's like the first emotional beat, right? Because this is the down moment, right? Like we had this hopeful bit. We've gone to the hospital. That hope is, we're at the hospital in a not hopeful moment. We talked about our hopeful past. We're back to kind of processing the loss, and then we're going to bring the emotions back up. So think about how that emotional track is going to run. This feels like the core emotional through line of the story. Really, think about how this echoes through every sentence and word of your narrative. Time passed. Some days I'd laugh at a coworker's joke, make one of my own in reply, to clap my hands with a toddler, grinned. What did the doggy say? Va.
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 That's what he says. That's what he says the doggy says.
Oh, fine. Va.
I like this because, and maybe you need to just hammer it in a little more. I like that you're bringing in noise now, like the laughter, clapping the hands, what your doggy's saying. Mm-hmm. Maybe just kind of hit us on the. I don't want it to be too overt, but you could hit us on the head, like time passed and noise returned to my life, or something like that. Or like noise began to fill the hollow.
Did I send you the Year of Silence story that you should definitely read if you're doing something with sound? I actually did a whole stream on it, like doing like a whole. You don't have to watch that if you don't want to. I'll just send you the story link, or I can just. I think I have it on my Discord. I think I did, right? I think I did. Honestly, did I send you the story Year of Silence? Because if I have it, it's a must read if you're going to be. I mean, it will just give you great inspiration, I think. What does the doggy say? Wow, the days when my computer registered and answered messages, meetings, invitations, and I shut out. I climbed up from the couch and dropped to my knees. Rarely outside of the church. I got on my knees to play. It was enough to speak or to think the words of a comfortable seated position. I think this is also not necessary. Because it's implied that you're... Some days at my computer. Whereas did I answer message? Yeah, I feel I can't put my finger on it, but there is something with this transition that could get tuned. I don't really know exactly what it is. And it's very minor, so maybe just ignore it, but I won't even write it in. But if you listen to the audio, that's just something to think about. If you don't, then I'll know. It's not changed.
It's still there.
No, I think it's actually fine. I can't really pin it. Make my one reply. But I almost would have 3. So we have, because we have 2 examples. Maybe like a third example. Maybe a third noise. I think, anyways, I don't know. Register the unanswered messages and meeting invitations. I climbed shut, dropped to my knees. Pray, I was about to speak the words. That's the thing, though, because this is about processing grief now, but not about this lost hope. So it does feel different a little bit, right? This section is about just, hey, like, I'm processing grief. It doesn't feel like this sense of being cheated out of hope. Mm-hmm. And that feels like a different idea, and whether those are going to merge together, like, that can happen. More around processing grief over, the sense of, cheated hope that I got from the first section. It's food for thought. I kneel and recite my rhythmic prayers of the rosary beads slipping through my fingers. Time slowed down. The chirp of the birds, the roar of a long road. Another great. I savored the stillness. Okay, so I see the chirp of the birds is fading. I savored the stillness, the quiet, soft, burning glow. So that's. I also like that this stillness is related to your body, right? And I think that's like something I didn't really understand until I've talked to more people. Is there's like this. I think for some women at least, like this sense of like their body needs to be life-giving, right? And there's this like sense of like kind of disconnect when something happens there, so yeah, I think that's really a very interesting direction. That like this, there's this loud world outside, but when you're looking at your body and yourself, there's this silence where ideally shouldn't be. And like maybe even trimming some of the stuff about your own heartbeat is an opportunity to heighten that. And it can be a little bit more dualistic, where there's this outside world of life, and then when I'm looking at my own body and what my body's supposed to be doing, it's not. So that's potentially an opportunity, and a lot of this is just trying to throw some ideas that hopefully can help in the revisions. I like this idea of silence being connected to the speaker's body. Potentially heighten this, outside world with noise, and then this can be, this would, you'll see that. Okay. When I finished, I got up, my body was lighter, a weight of grief, not gone, but dispersed. Got my body. I don't know where the food is. Still delivered. All right.
Huh.
It's probably at the door. They must have just left it there. Well, we'll be eating for the rest of the stream. I thought I was going to be able to go through this, but you've done such a great job that I want to make sure that we're giving it the justice it deserves. I finished got up. My body was lighter. First, body.
Delivered. All right.
Dispersed into silence. That maybe is a little bit too. Oh, they did give you the fountain drink.
I know.
You lucky gal.
No, I wasn't expecting that.
All right, I'm gonna get a soda as well. Oh, it smells.
I know. It's unhealthy. That's okay. That's okay. I'm so excited. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it. Ooh. This flimsy
Are they a little soggy?
flimsy little paper.
Paper bags. That's okay. I'll put them over here. Yeah. Finally, nonfiction. What up? How's it going, Ugasi? And we actually have a lot of nonfiction edits on the YouTube. So if you're looking for more nonfiction, delicious, let me know. Or check it out. There's a lot of stuff there. And it's great to see that you write nonfiction. Oh my goodness, this is massive.
And here's
What did I get again? A cheesesteak?
cheesesteak.
Oh wow.
Super healthy.
I don't even remember what I got. I blacked out.
I feel like I need a plate or something.
Yeah.
You want a plate?
Sure.
Just like that. Wait.
I need a plate, but not that bad. I love nonfiction content. Well, yeah, this is a great. This is by a really great writer. We've edited some of their work before, so yes. We have more of this writer's work. We have more of this writer's work on the YouTube, so you can see a lot of their stuff, which is really, really great, and I think it's grown and progressed a lot. So I'm a copywriter. Awesome to meet you. And the wife, yes, indeed.
The waifu? Yes.
The waifu?
I am the waifu.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Oh, this is really good. Both the food and the story is good. Okay. On Saturday morning, I got up early with my son, sipped my coffee as he sipped his milk. And I like that you're also using sipped here because that's kind of like a sound way, like, almost like a slurp. Like, that there's an onomatopoeia slightly associated with that. So another great word choice. And I think that's the thing with nonfiction. You're working generally in a much smaller length. Like, you just don't have that many words, so everyone really does have to count. We took a long walk in our neighborhood. Leaves crunched under the feet of the sun, and the sun climbed pink and hazy over the hilltops. I had fall mornings always been so bold. Whereas fall morning's always so beautiful. I think that's fine. Had been is okay. Because it is a past perfect. We stopped at the intersection and watched the cars go by. Gunga. I don't know what that means, but that's awesome.
What are you teaching your child? Just kidding. It's pretty cute.
Joining your Discord, I'm so happy. Well, great. Welcome. Great to have more copywriters around.
I really wants to write a novel.
Well, I do fiction writing for the most part, but I do some edits that are nonfiction every now and then. So yeah, if you ever want your stuff edited, feel free to send it in. We always we do free edits for a lot of the viewers, so welcome. So again, I like this very sound-driven intro. But again, I'm kind of wondering, as a reader, I'm missing this resolve on this. I'm missing the resolution on this sense of cheated hope. Because especially in the beginning, you built up a lot of content around, hey, like I deserve, like, you know, I've prepared for this. I should have had this thing worked out. It should have come to fruition. So that sense of cheated hope does not feel resolved yet, and having another opening that's kind of starting on a high beat doesn't feel necessarily. It doesn't feel in the flow yet, right? Because we still have a string that's not really tied up. And also the fact that we're hitting a high note, right? Like you have this very idyllic, you know, had fall mornings always been so beautiful, it mirrors, you know, this very much. Like I'm laughing at a coworker's joke. There's still these good things in life, right? Kissed my husband, took the feeding, hopped in the car, drove 30 minutes to the nearest church offering adoration outdoors. I knelt in the parking lot, bowed my head, and basked in the warmth emanating from the monstrance in the window. Yeah, that's a term.
Catholic thing? I don't know.
Let me see. Man, I used to be a good Episcopalian boy, but I've forgotten a lot.
Yummy.
Yeah, this is great.
Devouring it.
Yeah, man.
Here's all I had today was a acai bowl.
Yeah, I think that's all I had too. Knelt in the parking lot, bowed my head, and basked in the warmth emanating from the monsters in the window. Miles away lives a friend of mine who had a new baby. Her older daughter is 3. What?
I'm just a little confused about the God might be calling to her, to this friend.
Yeah.
Seems a little random. Oh, this is the sauce. Barbecue.
Is this for me?
It's a barbecue sauce?
No, I don't think so. It's orange.
It smells like barbecue sauce.
Oh, well, it's already got sauce. Maybe you just
really?
gave me more to like dump on it. That's really respectable. I'm gonna order from this place again if they do that.
I think it's barbecue sauce.
Boss is my food, yeah. Mendeng Umaga Miss Foxy. I don't know what that means, but.
Oh, Philippine. Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. Good morning from the Philippines. Oh, nice. Yes.
That's what it says.
That's awesome. We actually almost got Filipino food tonight, but.
Oh, it's Thai food.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right. Never mind.
Well, there's a great Filipino restaurant.
There's a great Filipino restaurant right down the street.
Yeah. I didn't know what this was.
How does this relate to the theses set up above? I feel like this is branching out from that core. Yeah, because I feel like, in the previous, so like if you look at this core emotional thing you set up, this really, really strong center, there's two kind of elements of it, right? There's this loss of this hope, and there's this silence. Like, so that's like the mental side of the grief you're setting up, is the loss of this hope. Like, you know, there's this just immense amount of hope that comes with childbirth, and the fact that that was undermined is where a lot of the mental thought is happening up till that point. And then the second, like, you know, I should have had this hope, you know, those types of hope cheated, or hope, you know, in some ways, at least as in the setup, we think it's hope failed, but, you know, hopefully that resolves and hey, there is still hope throughout it. At least from what I understand of your goal. The second thing is this silence and this like physical side of the grief. And I feel like that's expressed here, right? Where, you know, there's still the noise of life. There's still there's still life going on and still good things, but then you get caught up with, hey, there's this silent grief beneath it all, beneath all that noise. And so I feel like that second aspect gets resolved, or at least better addressed here. But we're still really missing kind of a close, kind of not a conclusion, but at least a reiteration of that initial, like, hey, I had this hope. It did not come to fruition. And I thought, you know, God was going to come through. I materialized different than what I thought. So this feels different, that we're bringing in a new character. Again,
Yeah.
in a screenplay, they always say, you know, never bring in another character after the last, you know, after the first half. That's obviously doesn't directly apply here. I think there's a lot of reasons you would do that, but again, this is kind of where we want to be directionally closing threads rather than opening up new ones. Calling her to the fog of postpartum hormones, sleepless nights, and 2 sets of pressing day and night. Little Dennis Jr. No, but he's hanging out.
Dennis Jr.
DJ. Mom, I gotta learn how to say that. Good morning. Magandang umaga. Is that right?
How am I supposed to know?
Well, I was asking them.
Oh.
Magandang umaga. And I could say good morning in Filipino. Should be awesome.
Cool.
Magandang umaga.
Very impressive.
See, aren't you impressed? See, I still wow her, you know, every day. It's just I'm so awesome. She can't help it.
Something like that.
But be impressed. Through the cries and laughter that you'll bounce from little bodies. College in the fog of postpartum. I like this idea of, like, you know, someone else could be experiencing darkness. You want more fries?
No, I forgot about them.
They're the noise
Down the burger.
of life. But again, this feels like a different essay than that core moment this is built around.
I feel like you're trying to do a lot of different things, which are all good and interesting. It feels like there's a whole narrative about motherhood being your calling and what that means. There's the narrative of hope, lost hope. There's the narrative of yeah, I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot going on. My relationship.
To our relation goals. You know, we also are very imperfect, and we get salty with each other sometimes, and are not always as kind as we wish we were, and have our own mental health issues that make the relationship challenging some days. So we never want to put on, but we're very thankful for each other and people who are willing to stick it out through the ups and downs. I never want to sugarcoat. Relationships are challenging, but they're also a blessing, and yeah, so. Yeah, everybody, you know, don't want it to be too.
Yeah,
we're perfect. Where's our Instagram? Call to the fog of postpartum home. Okay, I do agree with. Yeah, I think I agree with Danielle's note where there's like a lot of essays here. You know, this does feel like a few.
Yeah,
a few different essays.
Calling.
You know.
Silence and
branching
noise.
this out into 2 at least or more.
I would try narrowing it down
Mm-hmm.
to, like 2 of those. So right now, silence and noise, grief, hope,
Yeah.
and what's the last one?
Or like the hope, the cheated hope. No, we already talked about that one. And then this somebody else could be going through a time of grief, but you're not aware. Like the
Yeah.
community.
Feels like a lot of good thoughts about it's like more like a stream of consciousness in some ways. Not totally, it's very well written, but it still feels like a lot of different types of thoughts.
Oh, that's a go. I'm going to draw closer this year by doubling the joys and sacrifices of motherhood. So again, this feels like what we're talking about, but it does feel a little different than how it was set up, right? Feels different, and hope kind of, lost. This feels like, I thought God setting me up for X, but I got Y,
I'll just try to distill how earlier on
Yeah.
the lack of God calling you in the silence in the first part, maybe,
Yeah.
I think you bring that goal in, or that moment in when you're like praying on your knees near the end, like God's calling you in the silence. I would almost make because you talk about the silence early on. Sorry, this is all over the place. You talk about silence, the silence, no heartbeat, silence in the car. I guess making silence like the enemy early on, and then making silence a friend at the end.
That's actually great. That's a great note. Take that note.
So and I know I've experienced this when there is silence and something horrific is, something that's really emotionally difficult has happened, and you just you just hate it. You just want it to go away. Like you feel like you need to break the silence with something, or whatever. Like that, it's bad. The silence is its emptiness is a threat somehow, or whatever that looks like to you. But I feel like that would be one way to frame it, because you're ending with this. I always like to look at what's my ending thought, and how can I do the opposite earlier to frame it. And I hadn't considered how God could call me in the silence. So why didn't he, why didn't you think that he could earlier? So that's kind of, sorry, that's, my brain is very think on the fly.
See, I just take notes from what she says. She's the brains. I'm just the...
Bit different.
I stood up in the parking lot, tucked away my rosary beads, didn't consider it was home, but for my son's nap time, agreed with what I grinned. Little Big Truck slowly. I carried him to the crib. Did we have Little Big Truck earlier? No. This could be a repetition thing, or we're returning to this normal life, but changed. If you have reading, but that doesn't matter too much. That's just me being nitpicky. Came to his crib, his head resting heavy on my shoulder. Shut with a soft click. I retreated to the quiet of my den. I curled up on the couch and opened my laptop to write. It's one of the small that are still in the corner of my chest. God didn't fill it with another heartbeat, but he's using the space to coming closer. Slowly.
I like that.
Yeah. I wonder if it's silently.
Quietly works.
Okay. I like this conclusion. I would go back through the other paragraphs and, draw, thought connections on how each builds toward this particular resolve. You know, this might be a helpful way to help cut. Yeah, so hopefully that's helpful. Do you have any other recommendations for non-fic streamers? You two are phenomenal, but I want to network with people who enjoy robot content, aka non-fiction. I don't know too many streamers that do non-fiction. I have a bunch of streamers listed down below, but I think a lot of them are fiction. I mean, this is mostly a fiction channel too. I usually just will edit non-fiction when people send it in. So if you ever want your non-fiction edited, you're welcome to share. You can, I think it's set up here. But feel free, if you're on the Discord, feel free to just ask around there, and maybe they'll know some more folks. I don't know any nonfiction streamers now. Almost everybody's fiction,
Which is a shame.
Which is a shame. But that's why I always get excited when people send me nonfiction to edit, so I can branch out a little bit. But yeah, that's the story. Overall, a really great work. I was pretty impressed by this one.
Yeah.
I unfortunately have a call in a few minutes, so I gotta run.
Ooh.
But
At least we got you fed.
it got me fed and watered. It was so great seeing you all. Thanks for stopping in. I'll see if I can find someone to host, because I see there are a few folks hanging out today, so I don't want to leave you all in the lurch. Let me see. There's some other Wavy Lines. I think this person does some writing. So we'll send you over to Wavy. He's playing chess right now, which is cool. It's also great for the mind, you know. Anyways, everybody, take it easy. Have a good one. Thanks so much for hanging out. Great meeting you as well. And keep writing. And if you have some nonfiction you want to share, we always love marking you up. So take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.
Your Discord? Oh, here it is.
Oh.
Plop. There you go. Did that work? Should work. There it is. The bot still listens.
The final bot.
The final bot.
All right.
But yeah, cheers, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.